Oh, hello. Welcome to April predictions. These are going to be general. I think I'll also do, I don't know, maybe I'll do like a love one. We'll see. We'll see. Just a reminder, I read tarot and oracle decks intuitively, so I'll show you the card if they mean something different for you. Great and amazing. And I'll try and be as specific as I can. Let's get started. These are going to be the decks that I'm using today. I have a bunch of different decks. So one is going to be the Modern Witch Tarot deck, which I know is very popular. This one's super interesting. Bluebird Lenormand. I found this in like a haunted, like it's called the Haunted Shop in Australia. Has a lot of really powerful energy. I'm already getting like anxious holding it. And then another popular one, this is going to be the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit Guide deck. All right, so this is going to be group one, the Purple Amethyst Heart. Okay, let's see. Okay, so we've got the Tiger card. Interesting. Excited to dive into that. And we have the Cavalier card, which there's actually like a King Charles Cavalier card in here. So I'm actually kind of interested to see what this one is. I don't know if I've gotten this one before. And we've also got the Six of Wands. I was about to say this showed up in last month's, but it was a different card. Okay. So where do I want to get started? I have to get started with the Cavalier because so interesting. Let's see what's up. So, oh, these all rhyme. Just a forewarning. Heed well good news from the Cavalier. Impassioned views promise good cheer. Sadness that hides veiled in the day, once disguised, soon flies away. That was not very articulate. I'm a better reader than that. I'm gonna apologize. It's interesting because like my initial read is that like these cards all together, they don't seem like they kind of mix, right? And I think that that is actually a little bit of a clue in terms of your future April, where like there could be a lot of different energies happening, right? Like it's almost like these feel kind of differentiated from each other. Maybe this one is like the in between. So there could be a lot of just things going on in your orbit, a lot of differentiation, but a lot of energy kind of like moving into the future. So if you've been feeling stagnant, I do feel like this is great news. Yes, there could be an obvious indication that like you are meeting divine masculine person in the future, but like what I think is also really interesting is that I feel like people watching this are actually going to be inhabiting more of their divine masculine energy and maybe more in a positive way. So if you felt like you've had some divine masculine wounds in the past, I do feel like there's going to be kind of I don't know, like an answer that you're seeking, or it's like I don't know, I also feel like people don't who this is for, they might not know that they have divine masculine wounds. So like the really, really good news is that, especially when it says soon flies away, I don't think you're going to need to be doing anything actively to kind of get rid of it or release it. But I do love how we have the hearts here going on. I really feel like people who are watching this are going to have romantic suitors coming in April. Maybe ones that are unexpected, maybe even ones that they're not necessarily attracted to, or at least at first, but there is a reason behind it. So keep your options open, I feel like, in April if you are single. And then if you are in a relationship and you're not looking for new suitors, I do feel like there's still going to be options and opportunities which come through, which are just of the romantic sort of vibe, but keep in mind that romance is like a really interesting wavelength that isn't necessarily partner oriented. Like it can be like so many things are romantic, so to speak, whether that be with yourself, with nature, with people, places, and things. So yeah, keep open minded, but like it really feels like cool energy. I think that like what I love about this is that I'm really, really focused on the word disguised. So I think it's going to be really important for you in April to kind of like say something comes across your desk and you're not like immediately attracted to it. Like there could just be something really interesting about pursuing it or like giving it a chance, especially if like there's little to no risk. Oh, okay, you need to like do a little bit more research or you need to have like a phone call with someone to kind of seek it out. Okay, great. So do it. Like I think there's just going to be a really strong sense of curiosity and interest and intrigue coming in April. Um, yeah, and I wouldn't also be surprised. I know that we talked about divine masculine energies with that within yourself. I do feel like there's actually going to be really good, interesting mentors and leaders who are divine masculine or who are men in general. This especially could be the case if you've had a lot of bad luck with men in the past, like not even in a romantic sense, but in kind of like a mentorship sense. So this feels like I don't know, something really interesting, some cool opportunities. I'm kind of being hidden from like exactly what they are, but I do feel like they're intended to help you. And it does feel like there's a divine element and aspect to it, meaning that they are sent kind of like from the other side. The other side is pushing them into your life, so to speak. Okay, without even thinking, I picked up the tiger card. And like my natural inclination is just like, okay, there's just like this sense of ferocity. But I do feel like symbolically, tigers are a little bit more chill. They're a little bit more mysterious and a little bit more graceful. And even though that energy doesn't necessarily feel exactly right, there's something about this disguised kind of word which is coming into play. And it's almost like I do feel like there's this sense of keeping your secrets a little bit close to your chest in April, and not because other people are going to meddle with your life, but because like there's something so vulnerable about your goals, your dreams, your ideas, and your passions that like they just need a little bit more of your attention. It almost feels like a baby in incubation. Like they can't quite go out there yet, it's a little bit too dangerous. Like they need to be sort of like in the sunlight, or the fake sunlight, and they need to grow a little bit before they get put out there. This isn't to say that you can't be executing things in April. It just means that for the things that like are still kind of like on the back burner, are still sort of percolating, so to speak. Maybe just let them hang out a hot second before putting them into light. But simultaneously, if you think things are ready, great, amazing, like they can kind of go out there. It's also interesting because there's this like sense of pursuit and kind of like stalking prey sort of vibe with the tiger card, which is really interesting. I think that you know there are things on the horizon which like you are really kind of wanting, and maybe if you felt kind of lackadaisical or just kind of like low energy, or like you don't really care too much about things, I do feel like that vibe is heavily going to shift in April. And like also this kind of like third eye moon symbology, obviously there's like ways to interpret that literally, but it's almost just kind of like, yes, on one hand, like the literal explanation is like your visions are kind of coming true, and like there is kind of this mysterious vibe going on considering it is the moon. But I also feel like there's something else really interesting going on here. I need to kind of pause to figure it out. I don't know. I feel like it's almost like just being an excellent and a good manifester, and people are like magnetically attracted to you because you do have these like goals which are being incepted, and you're no longer in this place of like disconnection and stagnancy. And it's like what I think is really really cool about this is that you may think that people are not kind of like attracted to you because you're not super flashy out there, and it's like people are attracted to you because you are incepting these amazing ideas, and like your subconscious is percolating, and it's like finally you're getting the recognition and the kind of like desire and attention that you need and want, and it's happening below the surface. And that is like what is so 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 cool about this. um I also feel like with the stripes, it to me it symbolizes that the elements and aspects of yourself that like are maybe um things that are like a little bit unique to you and maybe not conventionally amazing and beautiful are actually what kind of like makes you stand out. And I know that that sounds really cliche, but it's genuine truth. Like the things that maybe you tried to hide about yourself in the past are actually going to make people more attracted to you. So that's an amazing, amazing card. Like I feel like what I'm loving about this read already is the effortlessness that's happening in April. So like the vibe very much is you don't need to be trying so hard that maybe you had to in the past. Maybe you felt like you had to, you know? Okay, so Six of Wands. Let me try and see how I can interpret this. Yeah, and I love how, this person is on a horse, and it's like again there's just this effortless vibe where like it feels like the horse is symbolic of like the other side kind of bringing you into the next chapter, bringing you into kind of like your manifestations and things of that nature. But maybe that is a little bit too overt and too obvious. To me it's interesting because like the horse, ironically, is symbolizing a little bit more divine feminine energy, at least just like for this particular read, meaning that there could be a lot of divine feminine figures who are kind of like by your side. When we talk about the divine masculine figures sort of leading you into the future, like that feels more like overt help, but this feels like kind of like emotional support and partnership overall. So I think like as much as you can look out for these divine masculine figures, Look out for the divine feminine figures because they may be kind of like a critical component to your future as well. So it just genuinely feels like there's so much help that's kind of around. And again, like their vibe is so kind of like chill, right? It's like they're not going to have to put in much effort. And then you have this person who's also holding stuff in the back. And it's like all of these figures who are kind of like friends, coworkers, or people who are just like aiding and assisting you on your path. Maybe even just like people on the other side, if I'm being honest. They're putting in the work to help you get where you need to go. And what I love about this kind of like wreath sort of situation is that like you've had these talents and these gifts for a long time, maybe since you've kind of been here. And it's like, oh, now you're kind of being visible and now you're kind of being seen. And what's good about this is that like normally the exposure kind of lesson for people drudges up a little bit of fear and anxiety and pain. But like, again, with all of these effortless kind of, oop, with all of these effortless symbols going on, like, I don't think that that's something that's going to be a part of your learning lesson. It doesn't feel like it's going to be exceptionally hard. So perhaps in terms of your exposure lessons, you've already been learning these in the past. Yeah, I love this energy for you in April. Like it almost feels like there's nothing negative going on, which is wild, which is crazy. But of course, I will give some like general advice overall. Um, you know, I do feel like the only other side of the coin that's kinda like the advice with, like, everything's being handed to you, people are helping you, is, like, you do have to remain open, and, like, you do have to take advantage of these opportunities, and, like, things which, like, you may have said no to in before, you may need to say yes to. Of course, still have a level of discernment, like, I'm not saying say yes to every single thing, but, like, even the things that, like, you may need to say no to, there's a point as to why they're being brought to you. But I don't know, it just feels like April is gonna be such a differentiated month for you, especially, again, if you've been feeling like you haven't had the opportunities or things have been closed off to you in the past. So, best of luck to you. All right, group 2, the selenite wand. It's not really a wand. Maybe it is a wand. I don't know. All right, this is your reading. So let's go through the different cards. Ooh, exciting. You've got the magician. Wonderful. Excited to dive into that a little bit more. Wow, you've got the sun card. I didn't even know that this existed in this deck. Wild. Really, really strong cards. Okay. And then the scorpion card, I actually saw this one before I turned it over. And like this was like one of the only cards that came through as I was kind of shuffling and spraying that, or not necessarily came through the one I saw. And I was just like, oh, and I was really concerned for this particular group. But like overall read, a lot of interesting things, a lot of excitement, but I do feel like there is like a little bit of a forewarning here, which like is in regards to the Scorpion card. So yeah, it feels like it's being kind of veiled to me at this current point in time, but I think it will reveal itself shortly. I do want to start with the Magician card. Um, what is my read on this? Okay, first of all, I just want to speak to all of the abundance that is around this person with all of these. We got like the pentacle here, and we've got all of these different beautiful flowers. And that to me speaks to the fact that there has always been abundance around you, but like maybe you haven't totally been aware of it, or there's still kind of like a little bit of a separation. So it's like you've been bringing these gifts, you've been bringing this abundance, maybe you've even been bringing this like money manifestation through your life up until this point, but there's always been like a slight separation there, or you haven't seen like the light at the end of the tunnel, or you haven't been able to take advantage of these things. And it's like now I do feel like these flowers are coming a little bit more in bloom. Like they just seem really vivid to me when I'm reading this, meaning that in April you're going to see them more, like they're going to make themselves known. Maybe they aren't like exactly on top of you, like maybe not all of your manifestations are going to come through right away, but like think how important seeing the light at the end of the tunnel is. Like that will give you so much more motivation. You can start to like touch things, feel things, even if they're not exactly in your lap and 100% yours. It's kind of like, okay, now these things are being revealed to you, which like, before you had to really start manifesting or continue manifesting on, blind faith alone, like not seeing anything. And I feel like the universe is like, all right, we'll give you a little something. We'll give you a little something to let you know that it's kind of working. And I love that. That is really amazing. So interesting because like I'm so attracted to their earrings for some reason. And like I'm not even sure what the symbology of that is. Like to me, it kind of speaks to Wealth in what you're kind of adorning and wearing and like bringing with you. So like yes, there could be sort of this like symbology of like actual clothing items or actual jewelry items, but just like things that you're bringing with you out and about. Maybe it's even like, your chapstick or just kind of like, maybe it's even a vibe. Maybe it's just sort of like a luxurious vibe that you're bringing out and about. And so yes, it's possible that there is this indication that you can maybe invest in things that you're literally carrying with you. Obviously within, whatever intuitive budget that you have, but like there's something about it that like these items will give you a little bit of power, especially like if you kind of assign it power. So even if this isn't something that you're wanting to afford at this exact moment, like how can you just put more value onto the things that you already have? And I feel like it'll be doing kind of the same job overall. I do love how they're wearing white. It just seems like this renewed sense of like purity. I know that's kind of a loaded word, but truly just like you have released anything and everything almost, or if not, you have already. You've been doing the work to kind of get rid of things which no longer serve you. And it really just makes you a beacon, right? Like all kind of like energies and what you call it, energetic wavelengths and colors and things kind of like coming onto you. So you just, that was a weird, I don't know if that was a weird way to say it, but just like you're like a blank canvas is what I'm trying to like say. And so you're going to become a magnet for a lot of different things. Like the blank canvas is a magnet for lots of different things going on. There is of course like a little bit of a warning there that you're going to, the release work is yes, it's done in terms of retroactive work, but like discernment and release work, you're going to be doing that every single second up until you leave this earth, right? So like it's like yes, the hard retroactive work is done, but like the future work still needs continuation. So you always need to be affirming and intention setting that you are releasing old negative stagnant energy. I just love the brilliant kind of like yellow in the background, even though it's not. And also look at this, like we've got yellow everywhere. And even though this is a little bit more muted than something like this, which I guess is a little bit hard to see, it's on this video, but this one is definitely like a little bit more of a mustardy color. Like, oh my gosh, it just like is warm, it's bright, it's like relief. That's the biggest thing I feel like is happening here. Like there is this strong sense of relief overall. So maybe it's been quite a while since you've had a sense of relief. And like also I do feel like if you've been struggling with like pain or discomfort, could even be like tightness in the body or just like things of that nature, there could be a little bit of a relief coming to you and for you, and maybe in a very unexpected way. But yeah, I mean, obviously, like we know how powerful this card is, and we've got all of our stuff sort of like at our disposal, and makes me actually quite emotional because it does feel like that people who chose this group have been, I don't like to use the word victims, but like maybe victims for like a really long time where they just were deliberately kind of like put in the dark, put in the corner, and just like not celebrated, not acknowledged. Like, I don't know, there's just a really deep emotional connection here where like you're just not being seen. And now it's like you all of a sudden have anything and everything. And like also another be careful because like, it's almost like that sense when people win the lottery. It's like, they end up blowing it all at once. But fortunately, I think you're a very strong person. You've had a lot of lessons. I really doubt that that's going to happen. The last thing that I want to talk about, and I've talked about this card for a while, is the pointing down of sort of like the finger, where I do genuinely feel like there's going to be a lot of delegation that you're going to need to be doing. And it could also be like delegation on the other side. So like if you, are really unclear about your next steps or things like that, ask the other side to be like, hey, can you help work this out for me on my behalf? I'm tired. I don't have time for this, etc., etc. These are things that sorry, there's like weird information coming in. These are things that you can absolutely do. The only other word that I get is time for this one. I think that was what was trying to come in and through. Like, just be mindful of the time that you have in April. If you're having a warped sense of time or relationship with time, whether you feel like you have too much of it or too little of it or anything and everything in between, there's just like a negative tension going on there. I do feel like that is going to happen in April. So just affirm an intention set that you're having a better relationship with time. But I think that like considering how much stuff is going on, it's a natural side effect and it'll be okay. Just gotta work on it. Okay, I've spent so long on this card. I kind of want to go to the Scorpion, but I'm going to go to this one instead. Okay, so I'm going to read this to you. The sun is warm and brightens the day. Good luck has begun to come your way. The closer your location, you bask in sweet bliss. Energy abounds in summer's radiant kiss. Okay, I have to say that's like one of the best poems. Like they all have these like rhymey poems, but I love that. That's amazing. Again, there's just like this really strong sense of relief here because like of how simple this card is. Like I'm just looking at it and I just feel like I can actually breathe for the first time. So especially if you've been having trouble in the past with like breath work, or your chest has been really tight, or yeah, just like no light at the end of the tunnel, like April is really the time where you're starting to see that. And again, it might not be 100%. It might only be 50%, but I do feel like that is enough, right? To give you more like momentum and just sort of like, desire to keep moving in the future. And so like I love that. I also love how there's just like, this one singular symbol, which like obviously same thing for the sun. Um there's something very profound about that sentiment where it's just kind of like either all that you need is yourself, or the answers to your problems are so, so, so simplistic when maybe they have been so clouded, confusing, or just like muddy before. And that is what I really love. Like, there's this sense of like, it's like maybe before you were just like, I have too many options and I have unlimited answers. And like, even though you have so many options and opportunities in the future, you're like, no, there's only one answer. Like, it's like your fate is like so solidified and so close to you and so clear. It's like now you actually have time to do all of these other things. So, we were talking about kind of this like warp relationship with time. And it's like, as much as maybe it's still going to be a little bit of a struggle, I feel like this card is saying it's going to be less of a struggle than before, and it's going to continue to improve overall. So, like, your connection with time may be so, so, so different in the month of April. And I do like love that. Also, to be clear, obviously, like a great month to manifest, like that's pretty clearly outlined here. So just throwing that out there. This now I know why we spent so much on the Magician, because I'm like, there's really not much else to say. Let's read this again. Good luck. Good luck has begun to come your way. Amazing sentiment. The closer your location, you bask in sweet bliss. It's also interesting. I am kind of fixated on the word location here, meaning that like it's pretty clear that there's like a move happening in terms of like metaphorically or like spiritually. And like, yes, it's very true that that could be tied to a physical move in and of itself. Like, you may feel a little bit restless, you may kind of want to travel, you may kind of want to go somewhere else. I do feel like it's really important that when you do travel during April, or like if you're planning to travel after April, like you're going to places that you really want to be going. I would definitely not recommend that you take these long, luxurious, expensive trips if like you're just doing it for someone else type of vibe. Like, I feel like your travels and your moves that are happening in April or closely after April, I mean, arguably probably until like September, like these are really your spiritual investigations and like curiosities overall. And so this is going to be really important to make sure that you're going to places that like are like, you can be a little bit selfish about this, I feel. Obviously, if there's things that you need to get done, that's great and amazing, but it's just kind of like, don't be going places just because other people want you to, or like your old self wanted you to. Like, what does your new self want to do? Like, maybe you want to move somewhere in April that like you've never even thought of before. Don't be surprised by that. Yeah, it's just like, I don't know. I think when I see this mountain symbology, it's like you've climbed so many mountains in the past, and it's like, again, light at the end of the tunnel. So there's a lot of like, if you haven't felt validated in like the accomplishments that you've done in the past, the world sees it. And I think it always has seen it. It just kind of needed to waited to give you that celebration. So curious what the heck is going on with this Scorpion. I mean, like, let's we can talk about the very obvious kind of like symbology here. I do feel like you are the Scorpion, thankfully, in terms of there are things that you can be stinging. You've got impact. You've got amazing and great impact in April, and I love to see it. Could this go south? Maybe, but like I have to say, that's not the overwhelming feeling that I get. I think that you're going to have a lot of positive impact. So, what I hypothesize is happening, you're being more seen, you're having more impact, and like you might just be surprised, like where your message and information is going. Like, if you've been trying to get attention on social media and it hasn't been happening, it's like one random video, maybe from like a year ago, just like blows up, and it's like, oh, I never realized that people were paying attention. I never realized that I had any impact, and it's like, now we're starting to see this, like, ripple effect almost of yourself as, like, a Scorpion, and I'm just kind of laughing because I do feel like there's part of you that kinda wants to, like, F the past and just sort of like, bring people the karma that they deserve. Now that you have more power, you can. I don't recommend that you necessarily do that, but like you do have the power. And like the thing is with all of these kind of like sharp claws, it could be that your energy is a little intimidating for people in the month of April, like, I really wouldn't be surprised, and so that this is really just saying that you need to make sure that you have a gentle touch because the way that you say things, I'm telling you right now, even if it's out of a place of love, it's the most beautiful thing that's ever come out of your mouth. You have a strong, intense energy. You may be triggering people unintentionally. You really, really have to be careful about the things that you say, even like the jokes that you make. I mean, you can. I'm not telling you you can't, but like, if you don't want to create waves and like create these like misunderstandings with people that again are not necessarily your fault, just be very careful like with your touch in general. It could also mean that literally you're like breaking things in your home because you've got this like renewed intense sense of energy. um, yeah, it's a really, really powerful, that's what I'm getting from this, a powerful April overall. So, with great power comes great responsibility, but I think that, like, you've learned so much wisdom in the past, especially in times of, like, isolation and loneliness and, like, not feeling seen or heard that, like, I'm sure you're going to execute it flawlessly. Just be mindful. All right, group 3, if you've got I don't even know what the heck this is. It's this teal looking kind of crystal, maybe some kind of amethyst. I'm not even sure, but here's your reading. All right, I'm just gonna go through all of them. Oh yeah, okay. So you've got the hyena. I'm gonna dig in. I'm so curious what the heck that is. Wait, this is so interesting. Okay, you've got the clouds card. What the heck is this? Okay, we'll read it in a second. And then you've got the Nine of Wands. This actually came up in the March reading, which is, you know, I was going to say that's not necessarily great because maybe you're still continuing to learn like lessons and themes, but like I do feel like there's a strong continuity here and you're really, really resonating with your concepts and themes in your lessons. So I'm not 100% mad that this is coming up. We've got to go into the clouds card because what the heck is going on? I've never even seen this card before. Okay, so all of them rhyme, FYI. So this says clouds brightly shine, strong in precision. Okay. Okay. Life will be fine with firm decision. Beware of clouds misty and obscure. Life cloaked in darkness is hard to endure. This is really interesting because I feel like this is like the antithesis of the other groups where things seemed like the clouds were kind of like opening up. So here's my hypothesis. I think that there's still, some like lingering concepts, themes, and lessons that are coming from the past, but, like, the only thing I can say about that is that it's not necessarily a bad thing because typically when you're in darkness for a little bit longer, the things that you're manifesting or the gifts that you're going to be given in the future are even greater. Not just saying that to say that it is, like, the truth. I am just, like it's so funny that there's this, like, historical figure happening here. They're not all like this, FYI, actually, most of them are not, and they have this sort of like blue sash. To me, this is very just like soldier oriented in the sense that like you've been through some ish, you've been through some battles, and like you're very, very strong. So like I do feel like the darkness or the cloudiness, right? Because like to be fair, let's not be dramatic when we say darkness if that's not really the case. The cloudiness that has been there is going to go a little bit longer because you can handle it and you can take it and things are still happening. Like things are still happening on your behalf, like on the other side. Like you're still actively, your subconscious is still actively manifesting, and you can also still do this consciously. You can consciously still manifest. And things are still going to be working on your behalf. So even though things are cloudy and maybe you're not getting something on your doorstep immediately does not mean that it's not, behind the scenes working on your behalf in the future. But I will say that, you can see this mountain peak pretty dang clearly. So it could also be that like partially things are coming into focus, but like also partially they're being a little bit, obscured. And I think that similar sentiment to the rest of the decks that we have had, like you're still seeing a little bit of the light at the end of the tunnel. And so I think that you're getting a little bit of grace here. You're getting a little bit of information, maybe just enough, right? Like maybe for you in particular, if everything just exploded immediately right now and every single option and opportunity was out there, like it would just be so incredibly jarring that maybe you wouldn't know what to do with it. Like there's still a couple of things that you need to learn to have better discernment and decision making in the future. And so I don't think this is by any means to torture you any longer, needlessly, right? It's more so to just prevent you from making any devastating moves and, having issues and problems in the future overall. Okay, let's see what else. I mean, I love how there's like a flower kind of like badge going on here. To me, this is like really speaking to like badge of honor where you are very highly protected from the other side. So please take that as like a little grain of something because there is this like really strong sense of protection. Anybody who is going through a clouded or muddled moment or situation, they have to be protected by the other side because they have to have some kind of guidance overall. So like there is still the ability to kind of lean on the other side, your ancestors, your spirit guides to get you through this. And as much as the other cards or the other piles were about relaxation, as much as it is uncomfortable, you can still relax in this cloudiness because you can just defer future decision making or decision making to the other side. So if you're just like, I'll give you an example. If you're like, hey, I don't know what's going on, but I'm exhausted and I need to rest. So y'all need to kind of like help me out. And you can be more specific about what that is exactly. And you can do those affirmations and intentions every single day. You can tell he's over it. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. But like he has a sly expression. Like in a weird way, his subconscious knows that things are gonna be good in the future, but like he's freaking over it. And I'm sure you're over it too. I'm over it. Who's not over it at this point? I want to save the hyena to last. So let's talk about the Nine of Wands. So usually I don't remember when I'm channeling. I'm not gonna lie. So I don't recall necessarily exactly what we talked about in March for the Nine of Wands. You also may not have seen that video. So slightly irrelevant. But let's talk about what I'm picking up right now. I'm also laughing because like look at their face. Still over it. Everyone's just over it. And even like the hyena is kind of like low-key over it, right? So like that's the vibe. You're over it. And here's what's really interesting about that. Yes, there's like a negative connotation to it where like if you're over it, maybe you're not paying close attention. Maybe you don't care as much. But like there's also this like freedom of being over it that like makes you, yeah, it separates you. It makes you free from the things in the past. And like if you've had codependent tendencies or like negative connections in relationships in the past, being over it is like a great way to finally release like the stuff that you've been needing to let go of. So like team over it. I'm going to be completely honest with you, right? Like over it also feels like such a more gentle energy than like pure loss and devastation. So like I'll be over it. Hell yeah, I'll be over it. Like I'm into it. What I'm also just like laughing and loving about this is that like she genuinely seems like she's just like at a point where she's at a stop. But like look how athletic her outfit is. Like she's like ready to go. She's raring to go. And so speaking to the fact that you've been ready to go for a while. Forever, probably. You've been forever ready to go. I wouldn't be surprised if people have a lot of Capricorn placements who are watching this or just simply channeling Capricorn energy at this time. Also a great sign that when Capricorn season does ultimately come in quite a while from now, it's like karmas are going to be resolved and rectified overall. There's been a lot of yellow throughout this entire deck, although these cards do not have yellow. They're actually quite black and white, but like, light at the end of the tunnel here. Also, just like indication of solar plexus, making sure that you're ingesting things which are good for you. It doesn't have to be food. It could just be like energies overall. Don't surround yourself with negative energy vampires, so to speak. But yeah, I just really love the expression. Group 3 is over it, but yeah, I don't know. The other thing I just want to say is like use your resources wisely. Like if there's things in like your home that you haven't like, utilized, if there's like things around you that you haven't taken advantage of, like obviously not in a negative way, but just like use the tools in your arsenal because you may have kind of like forgotten that they're there or they could be used for a different thing. So there you go. I'm so curious what the heck is going on with the hyena. I mean, the first thing, I know I should be reacting to their expression, but the first thing that I want to react to is this dark side of the moon like situation and symbology kind of like going on. So it is true there could be some like different mood things going on in the month of April. Like one day you're not feeling great, one day you're feeling amazing. Like it's going kind of like back and forth. Like I do feel like rather than part of you not being shown or revealed to me, this represents more like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth situation. Not amazing, not great, in terms of what you want to be experiencing and feeling. But I also feel like this is going to be really important for you to get to know all elements and aspects of yourself. Like, the unfortunate thing about feeling great and amazing all the time is that you're not really getting to the darker parts. You're not really understanding anything and everything. And so, what I actually really like about this is that you've got a complex, dynamic, and wide reaching personality. And like, April is the time you're going to get to know all of these different parts, which is going to certainly benefit and suit you in the future. So there is like a really positive connotation there, if I'm being completely honest. And I do not think this is going to be any more dramatic than what you've already been seeing and experiencing. Like, I think that, like, reasonably, whatever this lesson is of like getting to know yourself and, just embracing your authenticity is going to yeah, it just doesn't feel worse than what's already been going on. So I think that as long as you're learning this lesson, it could be over, shorter than you think. You'll kind of see. Something that I'm really reacting to is how intense the fur is, and maybe, since he's kind of growling, it's sticking up, but, like, it just feels so kind of, like, matted. There's so many things going on inside of it. Like, people have been pissing you off. People have been getting under your skin, in your hair for, like, quite some time, and I think that, maybe you're moving into a slightly different beauty regimen. Maybe you're letting things go that used to bother you in the past, and that's actually a really positive message. If to help you kind of get through this like back and forth energy, like, things just may not bother you the way that they did before. This even like resonates for myself, like having a bad experience and I would, ruminate on it for like weeks or months. Something similar happened to me and I just kind of like let it go in like a day. And so that could certainly be happening to you. And I love that. Why would you ever want to ruminate on something bad for that amount of time overall? Here's what's really interesting. Yes, this seems like a snarl or like, a reaction to something or someone else, but to me, it's almost like not reactive. It's just like, get away from me. And here's what I really like about that. Um, you may have been taken advantage of by other people in the past. This could certainly be romantically or otherwise. And I feel like you're just like, these are my boundaries. Don't even start with me. I run a strict program. And maybe you've never been very overt about that. Maybe you thought you were overt about that, but now it's like people see it and people understand it. So I will say this, while I do feel like the other groups were attracting more people, like, you may be in a little bit of a dry spell only because your boundaries are changing and now you're going to be attracting different and newer people in the future. So like, don't be alarmed if you're not like the magnet that you used to be. It's only because things are shifting and changing and people are going to be attracted to you in the future who are just better overall. And I mean, like, you're still going through this little bit of a process here, right? So, it's okay. You don't want to bring in, like, especially if you're single, like the person you want to be with forever, because it's going to be a little bit chaotic at this point in time. But not to say that you can't bring people in who are going to be a little bit more permanent, but I do feel like that would happen more at the end of April for you, if I'm being completely honest. So just be mindful of that. Here's the thing. As much as this isn't like the most groundbreaking, amazing kind of like April group that we have, it's a little bit low key and it's a little bit lying under the surface. So whoever chose this group could potentially have greater, better manifestations, goals in the future than the other ones, right? Like, it's not all about instant gratification. Things may be a little bit more of a slow burn for you, but I'm into it. I'm really, really into it. I do feel like April can be a little bit more chill for you overall. But the thing is, talking about the end of April, things ramping up a little bit, you're not going to have to wait till long, for things to really change for you. So, like, yep, maybe slow burn in April, but like, once again, and it could even be like April 29th, right? Or like the 28th, like really, really end of April, things are going to be vastly different. So, having a little bit more patience and you can still relax during that time and potentially have greater manifestations and outcomes in the other groups, I'll take it. I'm into it. Good luck to group 3.